Linh-chan and Dimi-chan play games.
Welcome back.
Hello everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. So today marks 4 years that we've known each other.
Ooh.
Shit. Well, in any case, we'll enjoy our hot pot later tonight. That is totally not in the future from today.
Link is breathing very heavily.
Yeah, Link needs a chill pill. Or not a chill pill, he needs a...
He needs some water, but there's no water, it's just lava.
Yeah, I just had a nice gulp of water, and I was like, Link needs some too. He's dying. I hope there's not gonna be any mean things in here.
So where are we at? I was, last episode I was talking about American Sign Language and English, so I was not paying attention at all to your game.
Got it.
So where are we at?
So in my game, we are still in the Dongo's Cavern. We're ridding it of evil.
Uh-huh.
Oof.
Did you end up battling that guy yet, or did you not?
Which guy? The big baddie?
Yeah, because you played that song for that giant rock-looking thing that...
Oh, that's a Goron.
That is Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice. And then he said if you want the ruby, you need to battle the bad guy.
Yeah, so...
Are we there yet?
No, we're not there yet.
So you're still trying to look for that guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're making progress, that's for sure. And it's blinking like crazy. And I don't have anything to kill these guys with. Please don't hurt me. Oh, this sucks. This sucks. Okay. That's one down.
So.
Aww.
Oh, you got burned. No. Oh, that's sad. I'm sorry. On Valentine's Day,
On
too.
Valentine's Day, I got burned. Yes, I'll save. So in any case, Lynn is gonna continue explaining what the difference between, or how similar sign language is to English.
Yeah, there's not that much left to go over. But yeah, last time I was talking about the linguistic side of American Sign Language and how some people might say that, oh, American Sign Language is just a language based on English and it's just you add some gesture in it, but it's really not. It's its own language. It has all the requirements to make it a language. And last time we talked about the syntax of it, the semantics of it, phonology of it, and the phonetics of it, and
even how you can like have accents in sign language,
and comparing it to English, you know. And we talk about syntax. Syntax is the structure of it, you know, and it's very similar to the SVO structure of English. And often in English, in sign language, that structure is used, but some other times the other way it's used too, where it's SOV. And then we talked about semantics, which is the meaning of it. And in sign language, in English, meaning is sometimes very ambiguous. So like if you want to convey a certain meaning, you have to like choose the correct words and stuff like that. In sign language, there's really not that much ambiguity. Ambiguity. That's such a weird word to say too. But it's just, and there's really no right or wrong way of conveying a message, you know, and most likely someone will understand you. So that's the nice thing about semantics in American Sign Language. And then we talked about phonology, which is the study of sounds in English, is the study of sounds, you know. But in American Sign Language, since it's not a spoken language, you look at hand shapes, you look at movement, locations, palm orientations. You know, and last time I gave some examples where the word girl and the word not, like they have the same sign gesture, but is the only thing different is their location. You know, girl is right on the side of the on the jaw, and then not, the word not is right under the chin, and it's the same motion, same orientation. It's just in a different location. Location. And then we talked about phonetics, the study of sound. So like in English, you would have an accent, you know, the region where a certain person is from would contribute to how a person talks. And in American Sign Language is so like I said, since not a spoken language, you look more at the location and the orientation and the language as the signs as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So for a man who is maybe, and this is like, I'm not being like gender like sexist or anything, how like men's are lazy. This is just throughout histories and throughout studies that scientists have done. It shows that men are more relaxed when it comes to signing, so often they would use one hand rather than two hands.
That's the case also for not for signing but for speaking as well. In a lot of languages, studies have shown show that men are more relaxed with how they produce their speach, so they tend to slur more, whereas women are more enunciated in general.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if this is like a larger like sign of like men are just lazy because they don't have to try as hard, and women have to try harder to get to the same place, therefore.
Probably, maybe. That's why I said I don't want to be sexist and say that men are lazy, but it's just throughout history and based on studies, this is the result, and they found that men are more relaxed when it comes to producing signs. So, by doing that, they, like I said, often most of the signs are being signs with two hands. And it's the location, it's more in the mid-body range. But and then this coincides with a lot of women and their signing as well. Women are more formal, so then they sort of follow the standard of what the language. And then for men, they're more relaxed, so then often they would use just one hand to sign, and they would sign lower in the abdomen region rather than in the mid-body range, like the chest area. So that's just, and that is the accent of itself, like that's the accent if we're talking about it. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is morphology. Morphology is the changes in phonology that causes a change in meaning. So I don't know if you have any examples for English.
Morphology,
yeah. So the change in sounds would change the meaning of.
So basically, anytime you conjugate anything.
So conjugation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in sign language, it's also very similar to phonology. How earlier I mentioned they look at like hand shape, motion, movement, location, palm orientation. So this is slightly similar as well, morphology, but and I gave an example here. This is another example. It's the word to sit and the word chair. So they both have the same hand sign, but I think morphology, now you look at the movement and the direction of things. So you also look at like the phonology aspect of it, which is like hand shapes and location and stuff like that. But I think with morphology, you look more in depth into the language as like how long a sign is being produced, like the duration of the sign, and you're also looking at movement, whether the movement is very rigorous or the movement is just slightly a movement, and that's the morphology of sign language. So here I have an example of the word to sit and the word chair. So to sit and chair, they are the same language. Same word. No, sorry. They have the same hand shape. And the hand shape is it's two fingers, your index and your middle fingers joined together, and it's like this.
Like kind of like a gun.
Yeah, like a gun, but without your thumb extending out. So then your thumb and your ring finger, your pinky are fold in towards your palm, and then your index and your middle finger are next to each other side by side, and they're touching each other, but they're straight out, they're not curved, and that's the sign. And you make that the same hand shape with your left hand as well. And then and then you would cross your fingers on top of each other as if you're making a cross,
like an X,
as if you're making an X, and it's right in front of you, your mid-body range around your chest. And then with that cross to sit, you would do So for chair, you would do two movement. You would do up and down twice. So chair, and then for sit, you just do it once, meaning you sitting on something. So the movement is the same, but it's like the duration and the amount of time you do that movement is different. So for chair, you do the up and down motion twice. That means chair. And then for a sit, you do just once, and it means you're sitting. So the movement is up and down. The location is the same as well, but the duration of your movement changed a little bit, and that is the morphology of chair and to sit. And then another example is the word throw up, to throw up. And then this plays more with duration, and then the amount, like the duration of it will convey how rigorous an action is, and whether it's a continuous action or if it's like a one-time thing. So the sign for throw up is your palm, your two hands with all your fingers extending out, with your palms open, and sort of like I don't know what is this. One hand is in front of another in a way. Well, they're more to like swords side by side, but your right hand is extended forward slightly, like before your left hand, and then near your mouth area, like where your mouth region, you go outward. So you move your hand outward like this. You move your hand outward. It's hard to explain the motion, but if you want to know, look it up what the sign looks like. There's this website called Signing Savvy, and it's free. I think you do have to sign up, and you do have to create an account, but it is free. And on there's the entire vocabulary of sign language and video to show you how a sign is being produced. So if you want to know, go onto Signing Savvy. We'll probably include a link to that website at the bottom.
Check in the description. We'll have
we'll have a
links.
link to that. But as of right now, it's hard for me to really describe what it looks like. So I'm just gonna move on from there. And
it's better seeing a professional do it than us try to remember.
Well, I know what it is. It's just it's hard for me to describe where my hands are right now to an audience who's not looking at me. So, but to throw up, if you want to just say that you threw up and that's it, like you did it once and that's it, then you move forward with your hand once, and then you move forward and you complete it and that's it. But then if you want to say like, oh, I throw up often, all last week I was throwing up, then you, instead of moving your hands forward once, you would do it sort of like in a circular motion. So you would move your hand forward, but in a circular motion for like a few times. And by doing that, you're conveying the message that, oh, your throwing up session occurred more than once, and it was continuous for a certain amount of time.
It was intense.
Yeah. Are you talking about the game or me?
No.
Oh, the explanation? Yeah, so that's the morphology of it. So like the duration and then the way you express those signs will change the meaning of the word. So that's really interesting. I mean, I didn't know any of that when I was learning until I was taking sign language. Yeah, and then that's pretty much it for the main components of sign language. And there are other things that we looked at that also make up a sign language is hand gestures. Like there are some signs that can't be, like universal signs. We have universal signs that like pretty much everybody, like the middle finger sticking up. That's pretty much a universal sign. It means like F you, right? So technically that is a universal sign. There's also facial expressions. Like a lot of things can be conveyed with your body language and your facial expressions. So not only that there is signs and hand movement, there's also facial expressions, and often combine, like with the morphology, like a little bit of the facial expressions play into with the morphology of it. Like there are certain words where you make your mouth like thin out, or you do like an O shape with your lips, or you do like a close line with your lips. It conveys different meaning as well. So those are some of the things. So I think I'm done.
Oh.
I'm done with sign language and English.
Well, we've learned a lot.
So it's a really
Oh.
interesting topic, definitely. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube with like students. I did some videos on YouTube when I was in college too for projects, but those are not available to the public, of course. But there are lots of videos on YouTube where students, like actual students, do, and like actual professors and teachers make videos online teaching people sign language as well. And it's of course it's all free. So if you're really, and there's no harm in learning another language, right? So if you're really interested, like look it up, American Sign Language. And besides like being able to communicate with one another, like there's also poetry involved. Like you can do poetry with American Sign Language, and it's definitely very interesting too. You know, some of the most basic sign language poetries are like using the alphabet. You know, and that's a poem. Like when I was studying poetry in sign language, like I had to write a poem, and one of the poem, like how when we're learning poetry in English, there's like haikus, there's like all of these different style of poetry. In sign language, those exist as well. And of course, the higher you go in learning poetry, it gets more crazy. But like at the elementary level, it's really fun. You can use the numbers. You can use like the hand shape for numbers to write your poem, or you can use the alphabet, because each alphabet is it's a hand sign. Each alphabet has a different sign. A, B, C, D, etc. have its own sign. So you can use each of those signs to tell a story. So, and it's called the ABC story poem in American Sign Language, you know, and it's really amazing. I mean, when I was learning sign language and poetry, I only got as far as to like the letter E. But some people can do it all the way through Z, and all the way from Z back to A in one poem, you know. Like each movement and each letter convey like they don't literally use the words that like for A for apple, B for bears or bananas. Like they don't use those actual words. They just use the shape and the shape will become something. You know, like I remember there's a story where it's on baseball and on sports. So if you ever play baseball, you know how to hold a baseball. You hold the baseball with your closed fist, your both hands closed over the bat. So then that closed fist, if you have your thumb on the side, that's the letter A. If you have your thumb in front of your other fingers, that makes a letter S. So then if you're telling a story about sports, you can say that like, oh, I went to the ball game and then I used my hands to swing the bat. So instead of using like saying that, oh, this hand is a letter S, you're showing it by using that word, and you're just using it in the baseball bat gesture. Like it's a really interesting concept when it comes to poetry. So check it out.
Well, we'll talk more about sign language and poetry and baseball next time.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Linh-chan, Dimi-chan, Linh-chan, Dimi-chan, Linh-chan, Dimi-chan, Linh-chan, Dimi-chan, Linh-chan, Dimi-chan.